Hello and welcome to a new video, and today I'm going to show you the MSC Preziosa, a cruise ship owned and operated by MSC Cruises, and the ship is 333 meters long, almost 38 meters wide, and can take up to 3,500 passengers, and it has a tonnage of 139,072. The MSC Preziosa was taken into service in March 2013, and the ship has a very interesting history as it was built for a Libyan state-owned company that wanted to start a luxurious cruise line. But due to the Libyan civil war, this contract was cancelled and MSC stepped in and bought the ship, and as it was an identical sister of other Fantasia class ships anyway, with the difference that the Libyan company wanted to have a big shark tank on board, which obviously was not realized when MSC took over. And now we start our ship tour on deck 4, the lowest passenger deck on board, and deck 4 is the Ambra deck. And on this deck there are no cabins and almost no public areas. There's only the medical center and the tender platforms, so we can straight away get to the next deck, which is deck number 5, also called the Corallo deck. This is the first main passenger deck with a few public areas, and we're starting in the middle of the ship and we're heading now to the back of the ship on the port side. And here we have the main restaurant, Golden Lobster, which is also the biggest restaurant on board, and most guests will get an assigned table in this restaurant. It stretches over 2 decks and offers dinner in 2 seatings. The restaurant itself is very nice with the typical design of MSC, with a lot of gold mirrors and of course a lot of light as well. And I love these beautiful stairs that remind me of the old classic ocean liners. When you book your cruise, you can decide if you want to have the first or the second seating. The first will be around 6 o'clock and the second one shortly after 8 o'clock. And I highly recommend taking the second seating, as there is no time pressure, because the first seating, of course, you need to leave the restaurant at a certain time as the next guests are coming, so it always feels a little bit rushed. So I highly recommend taking the second seating, that is way more relaxed. And meanwhile, we arrived in one of the biggest highlights of the ship, which is the main atrium. The ship was built in 2013, so it's almost 10 years old now, and back then companies still built ships with amazing atria, and this ship is no exception from that. It still has a huge atrium over 5 decks. Nowadays most ships won't get an atrium like this, as it is wasting too much space, but back then it was not only all about money but also about making an impression. And here in the atrium is the Preziosa bar, as well as the reception and the guest service and the Preziosa bar. And at the Preziosa bar you can choose if you want to sit right in the beautiful and amazing atrium, or on the side of it where the bar is. There are also a few seats available. Drinks are not included in your cruise fare, but MSC offers affordable drink packages like the Easy package, which covers the most basic drinks, or the Easy Plus package, which covers all drinks up to 8 euros. And now we've already seen all public areas on deck 5, so let's head to deck 6, the Diamante deck, and therefore we use another highlight of all MSC ships, which is the Swarovski stairs. All MSC ships have these amazing sparkling Swarovski stairs, and they are of course a highlight of the ship, and they're very beautiful. And matching with the stairs, right next to it we have the diamond bar, which is also a library, but it does not offer too many books. It mostly offers games. So if you want to play some board games with your friends or family, this is the place to be. And of course you can use your drink package in this bar as well. The Easy package is valid in almost all lounges and the main restaurants, and the Easy Plus is valid in all lounges and even in the specialty restaurants that I'm going to show you later on. We continue our tour now on the starboard side of the ship, and we are now heading to the front. Firstly, we go through the Via del Oro and then we reach the Phoenician Plaza. You can already see that the style and the design is changing to a Mediterranean, Greek, Arabic, African look, like a mixture of all of those. Also, of course, a Phoenician look. But the look is not the only reason why this lounge is called the Phoenician Lounge. This has also something to do with the history of the ship. As I told you, it was planned to be a cruise ship for the Libyan state, and according to these plans the ship was supposed to be named Phoenicia. So I think this lounge is also referring to the history of this ship. Here in this lounge you can also get some small snacks all day long for free, and around the Phoenician Plaza are many shops. Firstly, we're going to look at those on the starboard side. Here we have La Boutique, which is a store for clothing and handbags and a few other things, but mostly clothing and handbags. It's also one of the biggest stores on board. And now we're going further to the front of the ship, and now we head to the casino. Usually you're not allowed to use a camera in the casino, but I was there when it was closed, respectively not in use, as I'm always making my ship tours very early in the morning, like 5 or 6 in the morning when the ship's still asleep. So I think it's okay to show you the casino because it's not in use and I'm just showing you the room, not the machines. But as you can see, it's a quite big casino. I will also show you the other side on our way back, because it is an international ship and most international ships do have big casinos. And now we are at the front of the ship, and here we have the Platinum Theater, which is the main theater of the ship, and it's quite big and it has more than enough space, as all evening shows that take place here will be shown twice according to the dinner times. So we have an early show for the second seating, so guests of the second seating can enjoy the show before their dinner, and there will be a late show for the guests of the first seating, so they can enjoy their show after the dinner. And due to this procedure, there's always more than enough space in this theater, and there's even a second deck with additional seating that I'm going to show you later on. But first, now let's head back on the port side of the ship, and now we're back in the casino, and you can see it looks like a typical casino, very colorful, elegant, nice. It even has its own bar, and it is allowed to smoke in here. And my favorite part of it are these amazing stairs that also remind me of the old ocean liners. It's very elegant, very nice. And now we're going further to the back of the ship, and now we are back at the Phoenician Plaza, and of course also on this side, the port side, there are a few shops. The first one is La Profumeria, which is a shop for fragrances and other cosmetics and beauty products. And it offers products of almost all big companies such as Rituals or Dior and many more. Like almost every well-known company is available here in the shop, and of course they have lower prices than on shops ashore. And here right next to it we have Il Gioiello, which is the most expensive shop on board with jewelry and watches from the most expensive companies like Rolex and others. And behind that is the Via del Argento, and there we have the mini mall. The mini mall is not only a shop for everyday commodities, but also for alcohol and cigarettes. But if you buy some alcohol, you're not allowed to take it with you. It will be stored for you and you can pick it up before you leave the ship, as you're not allowed to have your own alcohol on the ship. And meanwhile, we are back in the atrium, and on this side there we have the excursion office. So if you want to book an excursion on the ship, you can do it here, but I highly recommend doing it before the cruise online. Just if you spontaneously want to join another excursion, you can book it here. And right behind that is L'Angelo del Oggetto, which is another shop, and they offer watches and sunglasses. And then behind that is another shop. It's called La Caramella, and I think it's obvious what they are selling. And behind La Caramella we have the second deck of the Golden Lobster restaurant, which looks exactly the same like on the lower deck, so it doesn't make any difference on which deck your table is located. Both decks are exactly the same. And that's it for deck number 6. And now we can go to the next deck, which is deck number 7, the Rubino deck. And of course we're gonna use the amazing Swarovski stairs to get to the next deck. MSC is a cruise operator that is very international. It's an Italian company that is registered in Switzerland. So it does have an Italian lifestyle on board, but it takes guests from many countries. So all announcements are also made in different languages, which are usually Italian, English, German, Spanish and French. So if you speak one of those languages, MSC ships are the perfect place for you. And now we are on deck 7, which is the Rubino deck, and here we have another store which is Fashion Bijou, and here you can buy also a lot of fashion products, many of them from Swarovski. You saw the Swarovski stairs, and obviously MSC has a cooperation with Swarovski, so you can buy many products of Swarovski on the ships, and of course they are way cheaper than in the stores ashore. We're now on the port side and heading to the back of the ship, and here we have La Locanda. La Locanda is like a mixture of a restaurant and a bar. Here you can order some pizza, which is not included, so you need to pay for it. And they also have a lot of beers and wines. Almost all bars have the same bar menu, and some bars are specialized on a few items that are only available in this bar. And here you'll get a wider selection of wine and beer. If you have the easy drink package, there will be a few standard beers and the wines that are always included. If you have Easy Plus, then you will have a huge selection of beer here at La Locanda. Behind that is the photo shop and the Butcher's Cut. Butcher's Cut is a steakhouse. It's a quite new restaurant. It replaced the restaurant Italy. And this is of course a steakhouse, a classic steakhouse that you will find on most ships. This restaurant is not included in your cruise fare, so you need to pay extra for it, but there is a package that you can buy in advance where you can get a menu in 2 specialty restaurants, and there are actually only 2 specialty restaurants if you're not counting the pizza at La Locanda. And now we are at the back of the ship, and here we have the Safari Lounge. So it is an African themed lounge, and it's one of the biggest lounges of the ship. And it has this amazing dance floor with this beautiful light construction over it. And it also offers an amazing view over the stern wave, as it is right at the back of the ship. And it can be used for several occasions. It has its own stage, it has a DJ booth. It can be used for almost all types of program. For example, almost all themed parties take place here. MSC is well known for having themed parties on their ship. For example, there is the White Night, where all guests are kindly asked to wear white clothing, which is actually a quite common themed party on many cruise ships, but they also have, for example, an Italian night or 70s night, and many of these events will take place here in the Safari Lounge. So please make sure to pack accordingly. You will find a guide on what to bring for these themed events on the website of MSC, so make sure to read this so that you can join all of these amazing parties. And now we're heading back down to deck 6, because here we have another restaurant, which is L'Arabesque Panoramic Restaurant, but unfortunately I cannot show it to you because it is another restaurant where you might get an assigned table. So either you get your table on the Golden Lobster or in the L'Arabesque. The Golden Lobster is also open for breakfast and lunch, but L'Arabesque is only open for dinner, so if your assigned table is not in the L'Arabesque restaurant, you have almost no chance to see it from the inside. And now we're back on deck 7. And here we have the promenade, which I'm showing you now. We can walk a bit outside on the promenade. As you can see, it's a very functional promenade. There are no deck chairs or anything, but it's still a nice place to get some fresh air, take some pictures without going all the way up to the sun deck. And on the promenade, we now skip the photo shop and the La Locanda, and we are now heading back to the atrium. On the third deck of the atrium, we have another shop, which is the MSC logo shop. Here we can take another look in this amazing atrium. And here on the right side we have the MSC logo shop, and here we can see one more time these amazing Swarovski stairs, which are obviously one of the most frequented photo spots on the ship. So on the gala night, if you want to take a nice picture of your outfit, make sure to go to the Swarovski stairs. Here we have the logo shop. You can of course buy some cups and other souvenirs, but they have a bit more than that. They even have an MSC themed Monopoly game, so you can buy many things here. And in front of that is Il Cappuccino, which is a cafe. Here you can get some especially good coffee. And now we're in the Green Sax Jazz Bar, which was on our cruise not that much of a jazz bar. There was just a very few events with jazz music. Mostly it was Latin music. And we made friends with the other guests on our table, and they had their cabin right above the Green Sax. And they said that they could hear the bass until late night. So if you're booking a cruise on MSC Preziosa, I would rather not book a cabin right above the Green Sax, because it becomes kind of a nightclub late at night, so the cabins above it might be a bit noisy. And we continue our ship tour to the front of the ship, and here we have the art gallery, but it's not used that much. There are just a few sculptures, but no paintings or other kinds of art. And behind that is the El Dorado bar, which turned out to be my favorite bar. I love the design of it. It's very comfortable. And they have the Mixology bar, which is a bar where you can get some extraordinary cocktails. I will show this to you in one of the last videos of the series of my cruise on board. But I really love the design of this lounge. It looks very elegant, so it became my favorite lounge on this cruise. And now we're almost back at the front of the ship, and now we're coming to the second deck of the theater, the Platinum Theater. And here we have additional seating. Most of the time we use this part of the theater. You have an amazing view here on the second deck of it. As you can see, there are quite a few additional seats, so there's more than enough space in this theater. During our cruise at the fullest day we had around 2,700 guests on board, so it was not too full, and we never had any issues finding a seat in the theater. Not at all, there was always more than enough empty spaces. And here on the upper deck of the theater, the middle part is reserved for the guests of the suites. Like on many ships, also on MSC ships, there's a dedicated area for suite guests, which is called the Yacht Club, and the suites are called Aurea suites. And if you have an Aurea suite, you can use this seats with the best view here in the middle. There are quite a few dedicated areas, and I will show you later on where they are. Of course, I was not a guest of the Aurea suites, so I did not have access to these areas, but I can at least show you where they are. And here we are back in the El Dorado lounge, and here we can see these amazing stairs one more time that are heading down to the casino. And this is the only downside of El Dorado. As smoking is allowed in the casino, you can slightly smell the smoke here in El Dorado. It's not too bad, but if you're having big problems with it, you might want to choose another bar. But for me, it was my favorite lounge as it was very comfortable, which is not something that you will have in all lounges on MSC ships. As I always tend to say, MSC is 90% design, 10% comfort. Sometimes the bars and lounges are looking very fancy but are not too comfortable or not too practical. For example, they have tables that are easy to flip over if you have long legs, but they're looking nice. But in the El Dorado, it's comfortable and functional. And here we are in the sports and bowling diner. And as the name implies, it's a sports bar and it has a bowling alley, but it's just a bar and a lounge, but not a restaurant, even though it's called diner. But there's no food available in this lounge. And now we're back in Il Cappuccino, the cafe on board, which is one of the few lounges where you have access to power sockets. So if you are just like me, a photographer who wants to look through the pictures you've taken during your cruise, it can be quite hard to find power sockets. You will find them at Il Cappuccino, at the sports and bowling diner, and also in the safari lounge, but not in most of the other lounges. And that's it for deck number 7. So we are now on deck number 8, which is the Onice deck. And there are only cabins on this deck, but it is the 4th deck with the atrium. There are no public areas here in the atrium, but you have this small walkway with the panoramic windows. You can take a look down in the atrium, but that's it for deck 8. But there's one more thing which I want to show you, because on my ship tours I also want to show you some little secrets of the ship. And there's one area which is not too well known within the guests, and it is this outdoor area at the back of the ship. There are some stairs all the way from the promenade up to the highest deck, and all decks in between have these small outdoor areas, and our cabin was quite close to it, so we used it as our private balcony because it's the perfect place to watch the ship leaving the port, for example, or if there's a nice sunset. It's a perfect place to watch it, as most of the time you will be there completely on your own, and it's way faster to reach if you have a cabin in the back of the ship and you just want to take a picture or watch the sail away. Then it's way faster to reach than the sun deck or the promenade. But that's it for deck 8. We are now on deck 9, the Agata deck, and this is the last deck with access to the atrium. And as you can see, it's exactly the same like on deck 8. There's just this walkway where you can take a look down in the atrium. And as you can see, it is really huge. It's amazing to see it here from the top. You can get an impression on how big the atrium actually is. But otherwise, there are only cabins on deck 9, just as on deck 10, the Tormalina deck, deck 11, the Giada deck, deck 12, the Opale deck, and deck 13, the Ametista deck. Deck 13, that's quite interesting. Many ships do not have a deck 13, as 13 is considered an unlucky number in many countries, for example like in Germany, where most ships do not have a deck 13, but in Italy 13 is a lucky number, so there is a deck 13, but the 17 is an unlucky number in Italy, so there is no deck 17 on the ship. After deck 16 follows deck 18. And we are now on deck 14, the Smeraldo deck, which is the next deck with many public areas. There are no cabins on this deck, and we are now again on the port side of the ship, and we're heading to the back. And here we have the huge buffet restaurant. Officially there are two buffet restaurants, the Inca buffet and the Maya buffet, but actually these two are just one giant restaurant. There is no difference in the food or the theming, and it has a huge selection of food, and we heard some guests saying otherwise, but we never had any trouble finding an empty table. No matter what time we visited, there was always a table available for us. The chairs do not look that comfortable, but they are actually better than they look. I'm not a fan of chairs with wooden backrests, but these chairs are more comfortable than they look. And here in the back we have an amazing place where we have big panoramic windows from which you can enjoy a look over the stern wave. And it's quite smart because these tables are quite far away from the buffet, so you need to walk quite a bit in between of these tables and the buffet, and therefore if you're lucky you will get one of these tables with the amazing view, as many guests do not want to walk that far and stay closer to the buffet area. So that's very smart that the buffet is not too close to these amazing seats. And now we're shortly leaving deck 14 and head to deck 15 and 16. As on most ships, the pool is dividing the sun deck, and there are some areas in the back and in the front which are higher than the pool deck, but there's no connection in between of those. So firstly I'm going to show you the areas at the back of the ship. So meanwhile we arrived at the Aquamarina deck, deck number 16, and here we have the virtual world with some arcade games, and from there you can reach the MSC Formula Racer, which is a Formula 1 simulator, and an 4D cinema, which you can access through this door. And of course, just like the bowling, you need to pay extra for these, around €7 surcharge. And from here you can go down one deck to Graffitis. Graffitis also reachable from deck 15, and Graffitis is the teens lounge on board. And here on deck 16 we have the Galaxy restaurant, which is the second big specialty restaurant, and it is a sushi restaurant. And it does not only offer amazing sushi, very nice food, it also has the best view of the ship. So I highly recommend visiting it, but make sure to visit it on a day where the scenery around the ship is extra beautiful, because from here you will have the best view and you can enjoy good food and a great view if you reserve your table for the right day. And just on the other side there is the Galaxy Disco, which is the nightclub on board. Both the restaurant and the nightclub share the same bar, so of course they are never open on the same time, so either this area is open as a restaurant or as a nightclub, but not both. And behind that there is the Sky and Stars, which is a small area that can be used for conferences and meetings. And now we're heading back down to deck 15, where we have the Graffitis, the teens lounge, and here on the left side there is Doremi Land, which is the kids club on board. Of course both were closed that early in the morning, and also if it would have been open, of course I could not access it or take any pictures in there. So obviously I cannot show you these parts of the ship. So let's head back down to deck 14 and continue our ship tour, going to the front of the ship. And now on deck 14 we'll go outside, because now we are reaching the aqua park, which is the main outdoor pool of the ship, which offers of course a lot of space for sun loungers and has 2 bars and several whirlpools. Firstly, here on the port side we have the turquoise bar, and on the starboard side just opposite we have the sapphire bar. The sapphire bar is open from early morning till late evening, because right next to it is a dedicated smoking area, so it is even open when the weather is bad, because still there will be a lot of smokers next to it. So this is the perfect place if you want to have a drink outside. And of course there is a big screen to show some football games, for example, or some movies, and obviously there's also a pool in the aqua park. It's a non-heated pool which is quite big, so it's suitable for swimming. And of course there's also a heated pool, and that's where we are going now. We are leaving the aqua park now and heading to La Playa Preziosa, which is the covered pool. It is not permanently covered. It has a sliding roof that can be opened when the ship is sailing in warmer areas. But as we were sailing in winter season in Northern Europe, the sunroof was closed, obviously. This area becomes an indoor pool with very warm temperatures. And it also has its own bar, and there is a shop, which is the pool shop, but it's not selling swimming things, it's selling handbags. So it's a quite unusual location for a handbag shop. But if you want to buy some handbags, you can also go to this shop here at La Playa Preziosa. And now we are continuing our tour to the front of the ship, and there we have the MSC Aurea Spa, which is the spa area of the ship. And I can show you at least a bit of it. Of course only the areas that are open to the public, because of course the sauna and the massage rooms are not accessible for me right now, so I cannot show you those, but at least I can show you the entrance to the Aurea Spa, and I can also show you the small lounge and bar area at the front of the spa. And even a bit further in the front there is also a big gym, and the gym is actually the only place where you can enjoy the view over the bow to the front if you do not have access to the MSC Yacht Club, because all areas above us right now belong to the MSC Yacht Club and are not accessible for regular guests that did not book a suite on board. As I just had an inside cabin, I did not have any access to the MSC Yacht Club, so unfortunately I cannot show you these areas. And that's why we are heading back now, and we're returning to La Playa Preziosa, as there is a second deck of La Playa Preziosa which I didn't show you yet. So let's go back. I cannot take these stairs because these stairs are only accessible for Yacht Club members. The doors there will only open with your cabin card. So we use these stairs here in the La Playa Preziosa, and here we have the second deck of it. There are some sun loungers that are reserved for Yacht Club guests, but there are also some public areas with additional seating, and there are also some table tennis tables and some table football tables. So either you can go here and play with your friends and family, or if you're traveling on your own, there are also almost daily meetings here for everybody who wants to play and needs some new team members. So you can just look into your daily program and there you will find a time when you should be here and maybe find some new friends. And now we are heading back down. Actually, I could have taken the doors behind me right now, but they were still closed due to strong wind in the night. They closed the outer areas, so I will just go down because they just reopened these areas, but the crew was still working on taking down the signs and barriers. Now we're back in the aqua park, and from here we can also access the higher sun decks. So we are going back now to the Cristallo deck, deck number 15, and there's a lot of more space for sun loungers. And this part is also not wind covered, so if you want to take some pictures, for example, this is a bit better place. Just here in the front there is a bit of wind covering, right next to two more whirlpools. But I want to show you another area that not too many guests know of. It's not like a secret, it's very obvious that you can access this area, but still it was always less crowded than other parts. So let's go to the Aquamarina deck again, deck number 16, because here is another outdoor area around the sliding roof, which is accessible for everyone. And it also offers quite some nice views over the aqua park and also of the surrounding scenery. And from here we can even access the Topazio deck, deck number 18. Just a very tiny area of it is accessible for us, and it's the only place where we can access deck 18 at all. But there is a very small place. You just need to walk right next to the sliding roof and take these stairs up. And here you immediately see this glass wall, and everything behind it belongs to the yacht club, but a small part in front of it is also accessible. Unfortunately, it's wind covered, so it's not perfect for taking pictures, but at least I wanted to show you this area. So that's it. We're gonna go back now on the deck 15, and now we're heading to the back of the ship, and we're gonna take a look at the last remaining public areas that I haven't showed you yet. And as you can see, there is a lot of additional space for sun loungers. So even if the ship is sailing in warmer regions, there should be no problem with finding an empty sun lounger. And as you can see, most of them are in storage right now, so there will be many more sun loungers available when the weather is nice. And here we have another nice view of the aqua park. Here you can see the crew that was just removing the covers of the whirlpool and the pool. Obviously they are closed during the night if there's no pool attendant available, but they were just reopened right now. But we are heading further to the back of the ship. Here on our left side we have the Doremi land again, so the kids club for the smaller kids. And behind that is even more space for sun loungers, partly wind covered as well. And then we're getting to the next bar, which is the garden bar. During our cruise it remained closed the most time, as it's only open if the weather permits and the weather is nice. And there next to the garden bar is just another pool, which is the garden pool. It's kind of an infinity pool, not a proper infinity pool, but it appears to be. But let's say it's inspired by an infinity pool. And there's also another restaurant. This is La Palmeraie MSC Yacht Club restaurant, which is, as the name implies, only accessible for guests of the yacht club. So I can only show it to you through the window. And now we're heading to the back of the ship, and there you can see some stairs going down, and these stairs go all the way down to the promenade deck, and all decks in between do have this small outdoor area that I showed you earlier on. So you can imagine there's a lot of space there, so this is really the best place if you want to enjoy the scenery without having too much other people around you. This is my secret place for you, where you will be most probably completely on your own. And now that's almost it for the ship. There's only a few things missing, and that's why we're gonna go one more time up to deck 16, the Aquamarina deck, because there we have a few more outdoor areas that I haven't shown you yet, which is mostly the Doremi Castle and the Vertigo water slide, and 2 more whirlpools. The water slide was one of the longest water slides on a cruise ship when the ship was built. It is more than 120 meters long, and it even has a see-through part which goes over the edge of the ship, so this should be an amazing experience using this water slide. Unfortunately, I cannot provide a video of it, as the water slide is also only open if the weather is nice, and during our cruise the weather was mostly not nice. Only in port the weather was quite nice and the slide was open, but in port most of the time we were ashore, so unfortunately we could not try this water slide. So I will of course do it when I'm back on this ship or on one of its sister ships. And now you can also see the Doremi Castle, which is the pool for the small children to play, and it also has a small water slide, so this is the area for the smaller kids, as the Vertigo water slide is only available for bigger kids and adults. Here you can see this see-through part of the slide one more time, and that's it. I cannot show you any other areas of the ship. There's another area here on deck 18 which is only accessible for Yacht Club guests, but I want to show you the amazing panoramic elevator. I tried it multiple times, but it was not possible to take it in one shot without the elevator stopping, so I had to cut it a few times. But I just wanted to show you how amazing it is to use this elevator, as firstly you have an amazing view over the ship, and then you can have this perfect view of the stunning atrium of the MSC Preziosa. And that's it for our ship tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful for you if you consider to book a cruise on this ship, or maybe it's a nice memory of a beautiful cruise you had on the Preziosa. Anyway, here you can see when my next video, the first vlog from my cruise, will be published, and the name of the song. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider to comment, like, subscribe or share a video link, and I hope to see you in the next video.